Welcome to episode 9 of Shane Talks. Here's the shtick that we're going to be doing on Shane Talks. Every episode that ends in the number 9, we're going to be jumping back to my favorite year in film, 1999. So tonight, we're going to be talking about the soundtracks to the movies of 1999. I'm joined today by 4 of my very musically talented and inclined friends who all have different perspectives on a bunch of different music that happened in 1999. I have my buddy Jay Hampton, I have Jason Richardson, I got Jason Maier, and I have Ryan Smith, and we're going to talk about a bunch of the movie soundtracks from 1999 and how much we enjoy this music. So first thing we're going to get into is my favorite soundtrack from this year. It's one of my favorite films from 1999. I absolutely love this movie and the music, and that's Go. Ryan Smith picked Go to be one of the soundtracks he loved from this year, so I'm going to throw it over to him. Let him tell me what he loves about the Go soundtrack.
So the Go soundtrack for me was, it's very nostalgic for me too, because 1999 was the year that I graduated from high school and also started my freshman year at IU. So the soundtrack for me, it gave you so many different genres. Like you have like pop on there, you have like light little stuff from Natalie Imbruglia, there's kind of a poppy song by Estero. You get some kind of funky party jams, the whole Jimmy Luxury and the Tommy Rome Orchestra Cha-Cha-Cha song.
Oh, yep, Cha-Cha-Cha.
Yeah, and there's some like inherently 90s acts on there. Like I said, Natalie Imbruglia, no doubt, like 2 acts I associate very much with that year.
Oh, yeah.
And it's interesting because it gives you a couple different genres of music where it's a movie that is around 3 people's night, out. And it centers around a party, but none of them are super heavy electronics. So it's kind of an interesting, swerve on the soundtrack listing choice. And also, I was very excited to hear your absolute love of the movie's soundtrack too. It's one of the best of the 90s. And the mid to late 90s had so many good soundtracks out there, and Go just is one of the top brass for me.
I would totally agree. The weird part for me is it feels like Hollywood got away from really good soundtracks at some point. And I'm not sure when that happened. I don't know if they just don't want to pay the royalties anymore or what it is. But like, I think of the soundtracks even from the 80s.
80s. That's what I was saying earlier. Yeah.
I was going to say, but like 80s and 90s have some great soundtracks. But now I watch movies and I'm like, if it has a good soundtrack, it stands out as a film now. Like Baby Driver is one of the few that I feel like actually had like really
Guardians
good
of the
soundtrack.
Galaxy.
Guardians, yeah.
Guardians.
Yeah.
Like the things that are centered around these music.
Yep.
When they do it now, it feels out of place where it used to feel normal.
For sure.
It's because the marketing is different now. Look how they market films now. They don't have to market them through soundtracks.
Yep.
And so it's just at a whole different level now. And their marketing campaign is driven on our phones now, and not, I don't think, towards the music, with the exception of the Guardians, the few special ones that pop up. But
Sure.
That's my thoughts.
Also, I think music accessibility and how to discover bands has changed a whole lot since like the 90s. Like,
for sure.
Compilations and soundtracks were ways for me to check out bands that I may never hear otherwise. And I definitely used them for that much back in the day. And, there's so many soundtracks that had I learned so many artists I love from, whether it be from like Scream soundtrack, Mortal Kombat soundtracks, Clerk soundtrack. I mean, the 90s gave you like, it just gave you that pass to like kind of shove all these new bands in your brain.
What's really weird though is I've also noticed that like Paramount as a studio tends to have more of them lately compared to any other studio.
And they're good at that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I really miss that because I like back in the 90s, especially at this time, I had more disposable income because I'm sitting there living with my parents, going to college or whatever, and stupidly spending student loan money on other things that I didn't need. But like CDs and DVDs were like the thing that I was buying in massive quantity at this point in time. And dude, like my soundtrack collection is huge from this time frame. I own House of Wax for crying out loud. like yeah.
Single
What
on
a
there?
jam.
Well, I didn't say it was a good movie. I just said that the soundtrack was pretty
No,
good.
I'm saying because Paris Hilton was kind of a songbird of a generation.
I have a
So
question for you guys. With the Ghost soundtrack in particular, are there any scenes and songs in the movie that match up, that's sticking out in your brain?
I think Shane had mentioned it, but
go ahead. Yeah, you guys go. If you guys don't mention the scenes I've talked about, then I'll bring them up.
Steppenwolf was a big, huge for me.
Oh yeah, that's a great scene.
And then they redid that song on the soundtrack where it was actually Tay Diggs and the group singing, correct?
That I can't remember. I know on the soundtrack it had the Steppenwolf remix version. Like it was some DJ that remixed Magic Carpet Ride for the movie.
Which is hilarious because I really got into that song because of Go, but also because of I believe it was The Spy Who Shagged Me, and it came out in 1999 as well.
It was on that soundtrack. Yep.
And like that's when I got into Steppenwolf. Like I started listening to them at that point in time. So
here's one of the really funny things about the Ghost soundtrack for me is in the movie, there's a song that actually didn't end up on the soundtrack when Rana goes to Todd to buy the drugs the first time, and he cranks up the music. It's Angel by Massive Attack. And that song did not end up on the soundtrack, even though that's like one of the scenes, because of the fact that in the movie he turns up the volume so that like if she's wearing a wire, they can't hear what they're talking about. But like it always just was weird to me that like that was such an important song and a pivotal scene, and then it didn't end up on the soundtrack.
And Massive Attack is, being an electronic group would at least like kind of flow with the whole party vibe of everything too. So
sure,
it feels like a missed opportunity with that.
What was it? I have a question. So I remember the movie Go. I saw the movie Go. I can't remember anything that happened in that movie for my life. Now, if I put it in today and I watch it, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah. But I remember at the time, it wasn't like a big blockbuster or anything, but it found its kind of underground niche audience. And I remember the soundtrack just being huge and people were obsessed about it, but could not name anything off of it though. But it's obviously had an impact on a lot of people, and it was hugely popular.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it had "New" by No Doubt, which was the big song on the album. It was the song that they played over the end credits. The last scene in the end credits had "New" by No Doubt. Len's "Steal My Sunshine" was in that. That was in the Ferrari scene.
I didn't know that.
Thank you. That was the one I was trying to remember.
Yeah, the Ferrari scene was "Steal My Sunshine."
I know that song.
Yeah. Magic Carpet Ride, the remix, was when they were being chased by the mobsters when they were in the car, like driving through the streets of Vegas.
Yep.
Fatboy Slim had Fatboy Slim was on everything in 1999. Gangster Trippin' was the one on this album. And then you've got Eagle Eye Cherry had a song on there. A bunch of EDM bands that I don't really know, but I know the music from listening to the soundtrack. Jimmy Luxury and Tommy Rome. What was that?
So what would you classify in general? And it could be diverse, but what would you classify that soundtrack, the sound on
synth
that
pop?
soundtrack?
Synth pop?
It spans a lot of genres. And you have songs in of themselves that kind of are all over the place or are quirky little gems. The song was a Fire Up the Shoe Saw. You've got like orchestra instruments, you've got what sounds like a 2-string instrument being plucked, you've got sampling. It's a really fun, unique like soundtrack, kind of pick apart bit by bit by bit.
For sure. All right, so that was Go. Now I want to jump over to Jay, and one of the first soundtracks that Jay picked when we were talking was the 10 Things I Hate About You soundtrack. Yes, sir.
Sister Hazel.
Yes, Sister Hazel's on this album. Jay, what do you love about this soundtrack?
So the soundtrack in itself, most notably, brings about a lot of the feeling of, Kat's favorite band was Letters to Cleo.
Yep.
And they actually played with one of my favorite bands, which is Save Ferris.
Yes.
That feeling, that vibe, and they appear in the song. But the entire soundtrack has a definite almost a Shakespearean vibe where you see the flow. So if you even check it out, you start off with a little Letters to Cleo, which starts off with a remake of Cheap Trick.
Yep.
I Want You to Want Me.
Here's just real quick, just to interrupt you real quick. What sucks about this soundtrack is in the movie, Letters to Cleo actually has 4 songs, but on the soundtrack, they only put the 2 songs that were covers.
Oh yeah.
There are 2 original songs that are in the movie that they play at the bar sequence and the dance, or no, just the bar sequence. Those 2 songs didn't even make the soundtrack. I thought that was kind of lame.
So the bar sequence was I Know, and that was done by Say Ferris.
Okay.
Because they do a duet at that point in time because they're all dancing around with their trumpets and what have you.
Right.
But yeah, I get that. And that's another shitty concept of marketing.
Sure.
That's where you start seeing like great movies that have an amazing soundtrack, not to take away from things, but like Grosse Pointe Blank.
Okay.
You have a secondary album, The Commitment. You come out with a secondary album of just more music because there is so much.
Romy and Michelle did that also.
Wedding Singer did it.
Wedding Singer did it too. Yep.
What I love is that another soundtrack that came out in '99 that was not brought about on your list, 200 Cigarettes.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
But Letters to Cleo redid Cruel to Be Kind.
Yep.
Which was featured by the original Nick Lowe in 200 Cigarettes.
Oh, cool.
The other cool thing is FMT, my favorite song. Oh, yes. The
paintball sequence.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Wasn't the first time it was in a movie soundtrack.
What else was it?
Name that movie. It was 1996. It had our Samuel L. Jackson starring in it. Anyone?
Pulp Fiction?
96 with Sam Jackson?
Long Kiss Goodnight.
There you go.
Nice.
Oh,
okay.
I was going to say, Pulp Fiction was 94, wasn't it?
Yeah, 94.
Yep. October 94.
When you actually watch the old school video of FMT, you'll actually see Gina Davis and Samuel L. Jackson,
nice.
And he's doing his like song, like, I'm going to take my socks off.
That movie, by the way, is my biggest guilty pleasure. It's got some of the worst scripting and acting, but it's so enjoyable.
It is fun. It is so much fun.
It gets a pass on everything.
Yes.
It's so much fun.
Yeah. The other thing that I love about this album, how many times can you see Daz by Brick or Atomic Dog by George Clinton? And then it leads into the Cardigans, where it was not Love Fool, thank God. One of the absolute. So I know I said Semisonic is my favorite, but
I'm right there with
that's
you.
my favorite song on this album. The favorite song, favorite band.
Yep.
Madness.
Oh yeah.
They have Wings of a Dove on here, and for those who didn't know, I'm hoping that this '99 sort of these millennial or whomever was watching this, the young queen, finally get back and they're like, dude, I'm really going to get into some ska and I'm going to get into some old 80s music and I'm going to start learning how, there's a whole new avenue of funk with Daz, and then there's like awesomeness of ska with crazy madness, not just one step beyond, but
for sure. So Jason, you mentioned the Sister Hazel song Your Winter. I can't place where that is in the movie. Do you remember?
Oh my goodness. I believe it's near the end.
Okay.
I think at the very beginning, don't they have they've got Bare Naked Ladies one week at the very beginning.
Yep.
That's when Cat's pulling up.
Yep.
But I want to say Your Winter is when they're like, they're broken up essentially.
Okay.
And he follows her to the guitar store.
Okay. Yeah.
He's got the headphones on.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where it is right now.
Well, y'all seen this movie a lot of times.
Dude, Your Winter is one of those like songs, like Sister Hazel is one of my all-time favorite groups. And I've seen them in concert probably
way too many
10 times easy. Way too many. Whatever.
Their big hit was Sister, wasn't it?
Huh?
Their big hit was Sister, wasn't it?
No, All For You.
All For You.
It's all for you.
Dude, and they were what's Jaybird, you say too many times, but how many times can you see one of your favorite bands for only like $20 a pop, man? Like they play the Vogue every time they come into town, and I can get tickets for $20 or $30.
I've seen them a couple times in concert. Kim Block, they're good live for sure.
Oh, they're great live, and I've seen them in 3 different states. Even like when I lived in Massachusetts, and when I drove over to New York to see them once.
I thought you were talking about inebriation and confusion, denial.
So
hey, I wanted to add to Jay's comment of, so here's the funny thing, you brought up Brick Daz. I test people out on that song a lot, and I just play the song to give them a little hint of it, and thinking that they would know it because the song's been ripped off a few times and sampled. And I'm just shocked that the amount of people who do not know that song.
I went down a very big rabbit hole again because I started watching like the old school videos again, and then ended up watching the Double Dutch Bus, which I still love. It's my guilty pleasure, but it's amazing. And how many times? I mean, how many people don't know Atomic Dog by George Clinton?
Oh
and
my God.
I mean, everybody was sitting there immediately just stuck on Notorious B.I.G. because he was in the film, not on the soundtrack. But anybody who hears Atomic Dog, they were probably going, "What's Snoop doing around here?" What he
the one last song I want to mention from this album was one of my favorite songs, is by Jessica Riddle, when Even Angels Fall, at the very end of the prom sequence after Joey gets punched out and whatnot, and Kat and Heath Ledger have their fight. Just like when that song kicks up while she's storming out of the dance, like and then it plays into, like, from that it cuts to the front porch with her and her dad. Like, I just really enjoy that song. It's just an emotional moment for me, and I think the music hits it really well. So we're going to move now on to another rom-com from 1999, and Jaybird picked Drive Me Crazy, which is no surprise knowing how much he likes Britney Spears.
And that genre, I tend to gravitate towards those the teen rom-coms, or however you want to label those. So, but Drive Me Crazy was I remember watching it and just enthralled into it, and just came out of the theater just really loving the movie. And at the time, of course, the Britney Spears single Drive Me Crazy was out, but on the original version is not the original they used for the movie. The one for the movie is the remix.
Oh, really?
Which actually made it become that was the big pop hit for Britney Spears, was the actual remix version, not the traditional album version.
Oh, okay.
And so every time I hear Drive Me Crazy, I obviously associate it with this movie. But that was just a really good period in 99 when that came out, because Drive Me Crazy was huge on the radio, and to associate it with this movie. I enjoyed that one a lot. So
I tried to look into trivia to see if the movie had a different name, like a different working title, before they got obviously the rights to this movie, but I couldn't find any information about a different working title or anything. So I don't know if they secured the rights to Drive Me Crazy before they started filming or whatnot, but like it's always one of those funny moments where you have to wait an hour and a half into a movie to hear the song that the movie is based after.
That's right.
Exactly. Wasn't that the thing, though? Because when Clarissa was like being all like a teenage witch and shit, she had Britney Spears show up, and then vice versa. Clarissa shows up and explains it all on the video, as I remember.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
She played a waitress or something like that, and then they all dance and.
But I definitely because the remix is the one where Britney goes stop in the middle of the song.
Oh, okay.
But there's two versions of that song, but luckily the remix is the one that everyone's pretty familiar with. And
I'm pretty familiar with the music video too. I've definitely watched it a few times.
Oh, I'm sure you have. But the soundtrack itself is, I mean, it's pretty decent. There are a handful of pop hits, and at the time, I was doing top 40 radio, and so I was familiar with those songs like Bare Naked Ladies, It's All Been Done is actually probably my.
I think Jibber froze.
And if I had $1 million,
it's just old apartment.
Oh. It's
beer.
On Bare Naked Ladies album, I do believe It's All Been Done is the second track after 1 week. And I just always gravitated to that. It's upbeat, and it wasn't their biggest hit, but I gravitated towards that more. But I like the fact that they used it in the movie. Another popular song from the soundtrack and a big pop hit, Backstreet Boys, I Want It That Way.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I can't even tell you what part of the movie that was in, but it's on the soundtrack. And that song at the time was just bigger than life. I mean, all the pop heads just gravitated towards that. But something else on the soundtrack too. I'm a big REO Speedwagon fan.
Oh, sure.
Keep On Loving You is probably just one of my favorite, 80s tracks. And
this Donna's cover is good.
Yeah, the Donna's cover it was actually pretty, for a punk rock version, they actually, I think, did pretty good on that.
I have a movie songs playlist. And if your song stuck in my head while I watched your movie, or if I've watched it multiple times, the part that always sticks out to me, with Drive Me Crazy, it is obviously the title song is in that playlist, but also because of the car cruising sequence and them singing REO Speedwagon, that made it into my movie songs playlist as well, just because that sequence sticks in my head a whole lot from that film. So
right, I'm unfamiliar. I'm gonna have to check out that version.
It's pretty good. The Donnas, which is another weird thing because the Donnas are in the movie, but they play a fake band in the movie, but they play their Donnas songs. And again, none of those Donnas originals ended up on the soundtrack. They just put their cover of Keep On Loving You instead of the REO Speedwagon version, which the REO Speedwagon version is one that's in the movie.
Weren't they also Jawbreaker?
Probably.
I was good. Yeah. Would not surprise me at all if they were.
Yeah.
Jawbreaker. So weird.
So our next teen poppy rom-com, not really a sports rom-com kind of movie. We're going to throw it to Jason Maier so he can talk to us about Varsity Blues.
The MTV produced Varsity Blues.
So it's going to have a great soundtrack.
So do you guys, I don't know if anybody else remembers this. Do you remember they had like tons and tons? It was MTV's first movie that they produced, or if not their first, it was their second. And they had like tons of like 10-second movie trailers that were on MTV constantly. Okay. And they were all like, it showed like Amy Smart just sitting at work like this and like thinking out loud about like, well, but if he plays quarterback and he's the starter now, what does that do for our relationship? And all this other stuff goes on. But yeah, they did tons and tons of these. And that was one of those 10. But I love this movie.
Jason, real quick to interrupt you. Jason, real quick. I hate interrupting you here. It was their fourth produced movie after Joe's Apartment, Beavis and Butthead, and Dead Man on Campus, which all three of those had good soundtracks also.
I will agree with you on all of that. As far as the soundtrack for Varsity Blues, though, it is very it's very rock driven, and which really works for the football aspect of their film. I mean, there's Green Day, Foo Fighters, Collective Soul, Fastball, Third Eye Blind, Van Halen, Simon Says. That's the weird thing is it's not AC/DC.
Really?
It's Sprung Monkey is the version that they use in the movie. So, because I thought it was
wait, Thunderstruck in the movie is not AC/DC playing it?
No, it's
Holy
not.
Cow!
Yeah. Huh.
20 years later, I learned something new.
So yeah, but like
in there, that's a great soundtrack.
Dude, the soundtrack is just phenomenal, and it works. And it works so well with all of the especially like the football sequences. Every little thing counts when they're doing. There's a point in time where like
That's
the running back.
The first half of the championship montage.
Yeah. It's the running back, and he's just tearing up everybody. It's right before he gets hurt or whatever. But the weird thing is, and I mean, like Van Halen's "Hot for Teacher." Like, could you have picked a better? Like, I wonder if they wrote that sequence because they. I was gonna say, did they write the sequence because they could get that song, or did they get the song and then write the sequence in? I don't know. It worked beautifully for that part.
Let's call Dawson up.
My Hero by the Foo Fighters is so
the electrocutes.
That's what the Dons were called.
Yes, nice.
So, but yeah, My Hero by Foo Fighters, just how drum driven the beginning of that is.
Sure.
Just so awesome,
dude. And I love that. I love that because it starts when Billy Bob is like, "Put me in, put me in, put me in." And then as soon as Billy Bob's fingers hit the grass, the music just ramps up. And then it goes for that entire sequence. And then it goes into their next play. Like that's a good 3 to 4 minutes of that song, and it plays perfectly for what's happening.
Dude, you gave me chills just describing that, because the whole that's one of the great things about great movie soundtracks is the fact that the moment you hear that song, you've got the visualization that just comes with it, no matter what. And it doesn't even matter if it's like soundtracks that have actual songs compared to scores either. Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So if I pop on a Star Wars CD and I start playing that music, the movie's literally playing in my brain while I'm hearing just the score. I don't even need words to go along with it. But yeah,
that is so weird. That is so weird. Because I faded out of scores in late '80s, maybe. But people just love scores nowadays, still.
Well, and it's not even all scores, because a lot of it doesn't. There's plenty of times where I've seen movies that it doesn't line up properly. But one of the best sequences, it's not even that great of a movie overall. Superman Returns. But the entire sequence where he's on the plane, I mean, it's the best sequence of the movie for me personally. But that entire sequence when he's on the plane, saving the plane with Lois in it, the music in that, I remember watching it for the first time going, this music is perfect. And then only finding out later that John Ottman, who was the editor, was also the music composer. So he was just lining it up perfectly anyway, because he could do that because he had double duty on that film. But like Shane said, the Back to Varsity Blues though, the few things that slow down, Run by Collective Soul is one of the few songs that actually slows down in that in the movie, which I enjoy. Mm-hmm. But the really weird thing is there's a song. And I don't know if it plays in the movie, but I'm pretty sure that it's in the credits. It's done by Caroline Spine, and it's just called Varsity Blue. And it's very, compared to everything else on that soundtrack, it's very subdued and very low key. And it works beautifully, and I love that song. So.
I'll have to listen to those credits. I don't think I know that song at all. So real quick, those were 4 great soundtracks to talk about. For a little intermission here right now, I want to bring up some songs that are in movies from this year.
I don't want to laugh.
And see if you guys know what movie it's from. So do you guys remember Rick James's Give It to Me being in a movie from 1999? What movie would that be?
Give it to me, baby. Give it to me, baby.
Yes, that is the Matthew Lillard dance. Yes, very good. Yes, the Matthew Lillard dance sequence and She's All That, which had the Rockefeller Skank in it, another Fatboy Slim song. And then obviously it made Sixpence None the Richer by having Kiss Me in the movie. All right.
Did you ever do anything else after that?
Jay, you brought up Love Fool earlier. Do you remember what soundtrack in 99 Love Fool was on? Not Beavis and Butthead, that was a couple years earlier. But it was in a movie in 1999.
And it wasn't Romeo and Juliet?
That was 96. Ryan Smith, do you know it?
Oh, no. I was thinking of another Cardigan song. Never mind. I was thinking of Carnival by the Cardigans at the end of Austin Powers. But
Jason, do you know what it is?
I'm just sitting here thinking. I'm sorry. There's 2 Jasons.
Oh, yeah. No, you're good. So imagine Reese Witherspoon's sitting in her bedroom, and all of a sudden Love Fool by the Cardigans starts blaring, and she walks into the pool, and
Ryan Reynolds is.
Not Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Felipe is butt naked. That was Cruel Intentions.
That soundtrack had a lot of other great tracks too. Between that Counting Crows song where they're going up the elevator, and I mean there are very few like songs and movie scenes I connect with my mind, but the end with the Verve's Bittersweet Symphony and Catherine getting the cocaine dumped out of her necklace, like that is one of those moments, and they lined it up so well where the song kind of crescendos and into that scene, and it was so well done.
Love Fool was
one of my favorite music and movie scenes.
What were you saying, Jay?
The Bears made no money off of that entire song. It put them on the map, and they are broke because of it.
And that sucks.
Good. Oh,
yeah, there was a whole lawsuit about that. Also on that album, our buddy Fatboy Slim had Praise You.
99 film.
So the next movie, do you guys remember the song Mutt by Blink-182?
If I heard it, maybe.
He's talking about the sequence where Jim is running between houses.
There you are, in American Pie. It is the scene when Jim leaves Nadia at his house, and he runs over to Kevin's house, and then they reuse it when he runs back to his house.
That was an amazing soundtrack if you listen to the end of it. It brought a whole lot of the 99 big band stuff going on.
Bare Naked Ladies, Semi-Charmed Kind of Life, Flagpole Sitta by Harvey Danger.
This one time at band camp.
And then the little-known song on that album that I really liked was a song called Sway, and it's the song that plays while the four couples are starting to have their intimate night after prom, and it's so like mellow and chill as it cuts between those four sequences of them all preparing to have sex for the first time. Like, just really enjoy that song.
Okay.
So now I'm going to throw our talk back over to Ryan Smith, and we're going to discuss a soundtrack that, personally, I hate the most popular song on this soundtrack. And let me preface this. In 1999, I got my first job at the very first movie theater I ever worked at, and I was an usher boy. And in the summer of in April of 1999, when The Matrix came out, I had to usher during the closing credits of The Matrix. So I heard the Marilyn Manson song 20 to 30 times a day, and I absolutely hated it. And Jay, you have your hand raised. What's your comment about that?
So when you were talking about being an usher boy, does that mean that you were dancing around and singing? Or was that like you were leading people? I was just trying to get...
picking up baby diapers and sweeping up popcorn and shit.
Yeah, so I had to watch the credits to The Matrix 20 to 30 times a day on my shift while I was cleaning theaters.
Got his gig?
What was that?
Dirty Kotexes too.
I was just trying to figure out what Usher was. I thought he found Justin Bieber.
Oh,
and
no.
Kind of like,
I literally cleaned up after all the messy people that came to the movies.
Well, I'm sorry for taking a dump on the floor there.
Ryan Smith, I don't hold that against you, but I hate Marilyn Manson's song Rock is Dead. But what do you like about the Matrix soundtrack?
So this soundtrack I picked, it's kind of a punt, but here goes. I originally was excited because I was like, oh yeah, Marilyn Manson, The Matrix. I was thinking it was the Marilyn Manson Sneaker Pimps collaboration, Long Hard Road Out of Hell from, which turned out to be from Spawn, my bad.
Okay.
But I was sitting there going through The Matrix, and I like the representation it had in the year of 1999. So in 1999, for those of you watching that weren't born yet, God forbid, their pop music and Latin music had just like shoved their way to the front of the line. Nothing else mattered during that time. So, I mean, it was just hysteria as far as those two genres went. But as soundtracks especially showed in the mid to late 90s, like electronic music and hard rock and roll, like they weren't dead. They were still there. They were still being represented. It was just not at the forefront like it had been for so many years of the 1990s.
Sure.
So you have electronic acts on there that were killing in the 90s, like Propeller Heads, Meat Beat Manifesto, and The Prodigy. And then, you have Marilyn Manson, who, made any money that he still makes today based off of the 1990s.
Oh, sure.
Ministry, like that underground industrial vibe. And the Matrix soundtrack does distinctly feature electronic acts and like more hard rock acts. And
you didn't even mention Rob Zombie and the Deftones yet.
Rob Zombie and the Deftones. Yeah, that song with the Deftones was huge too.
Yep.
Rage.
This was where you start to see like some things kind of merge together, some genres merge together, especially rock and electronic music. You start to see, rock and hip hop like, merge together a little bit too. And then pop kind of stealing everything. So for me, that the soundtrack just reminded me of a time when things weren't so like you're in this category, or this category.
Very gray area.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like a Kinsey scale sexuality. There's some gray area in there,
Yeah, totally. But what's unique about the Matrix soundtrack is you could, let's say someone does not know that soundtrack, like from track 1 to the last track. You could throw that in and be on any track and pretty much guess it's the Matrix.
Yeah.
It just has that, even though you don't know the song, you're like, oh, that's got to be from the Matrix. I mean, it really defines that movie.
That era.
Yeah.
Oh, and I forgot to even bring up the Rammstein song that was on the soundtrack.
Yeah. God, so sorry. I forgot to bring that up too. I mean, Du Hast by Rammstein was everywhere back in the late 90s. Sure. Not my favorite industrial song ever. Like, and I'm a big industrial fan, but Du Hast like took that genre by storm.
Well, and another funny thing that I thought. Well, I mean, not funny for Massive Attack, but I brought up the fact in Go, Massive Attack had a song in the movie that wasn't on the soundtrack. Same thing happened in this movie. Their song Dissolved Girl is what Neo is listening to when he wakes up and Trinity hits him up on the computer. So it was another Massive Attack song that was in the movie, didn't make it on the soundtrack.
Your love of Massive Attack is why we are friends right now.
I like their music, but I find it hilarious.
I'm here for it.
I find it hilarious that they were in all these movies and then for whatever reason didn't end up on the soundtrack.
And it's wildly unfair. They're great.
They are a very good band. What else you got to say about The Matrix? I've pretty much hit all my points.
I'm going to pass to these guys. Thoughts on it?
Anybody have any other thoughts on The Matrix?
I already mentioned something.
Rage Against the Machine was awesome. When Neo finally shuts down that phone and you hear Rage.
Yes.
And I mean, I hated the fact that they had him flying at that point in time.
Sure.
I just thought it was kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
But it gave you such a relief of just like the revolution is coming.
Yep.
And that's what I dug about, having Rage, who is, yeah.
All right, so we're going to go from this hardcore Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson music. Let's jump to Jay to talk to us about Blast from the Past. little Brendan Fraser action.
Oh, see, and I love this because, well, I'm old. And any album that has, I've already mentioned that I dug the whole, like, the swing style, big band coming back. This was featured very much on the album, as well as like the I See the Sun, which is a beautiful song, in that like 90s or late 90s sort of style of I love you. But the fact that they have Perry Como on there,
not doing a Christmas song.
Right, but it's fantastic, and it's not the song that was mentioned in the movie. I see you walking down this. But it's also got Randy Newman as one of the main songs, and when the credits are starting to roll, just him, singing Political Science, phenomenal. Just let's bomb them all.
Yep. So your ska-ish type music you were discussing, the Cherry Poppin' Daddies and Squirrel Nut Zippers on there. Like those songs are so much fun.
So ska in itself is a whole other genre. What had happened is that, and I really want to say that it came big in from like swingers, West Coast.
Okay.
It was less ska. It was more of the big band style of that old music. I mean, the Flying Neutrinos were the ones that did the song where Brendan Fraser goes out and he dances with the two girls.
Oh, okay. Yep. Remember that.
And it's very 30s, 40s esque, and I love that sort of music. You know, you put on Glenn Miller, and I'm in my zone. The other song that I absolutely love is, and it only got one little lyric. And if you remember when Brendan Fraser was taken out by Dave Foley, and he got new clothes and he was dancing around, and they're in the house, there's a little lyric that just says rhinoceros, and it's off of a band called Block. And for whatever reason, every time I watched that movie, I heard rhinoceros, and it had like a weird little beat to it. If you listen to the song, it's very cracker-ish, and not saying that it's very Caucasian-ish. It's very a la Cracker from the band from, like, you know, What the World Needs Now is another folk singer.
Okay.
You know, just
Great
like
band.
yeah, but it's got that whole sort of like wacky lyric, but message and tune to it. Honestly, very happy that I own this album.
And you haven't even brought up my favorite song on the album yet, which is the Everclear track. I love "I Will Buy You a New Life." I think that is a great song.
But
who's the female lead in that movie?
Alicia Silverstone.
What?
Yeah,
quintessential 90s girl.
Yeah. Brendan Fraser, Alicia Silverstone.
I remember that movie. I remember that movie, but and I remember Brendan Fraser being in it, but I couldn't remember who the girl lead was, and I never would have guessed Alicia Silverstone.
And who was Alicia Silverstone's boyfriend before Brendan Fraser?
Oh, I don't even remember. Really? No way.
Adam Baldwin?
Nathan Fillion.
Nathan Fillion.
Remember? He had a butt and a hair. Nathan Fillion is the guy who gets popped right in the nose at the bar.
No, I did not remember that. Time to go rewatch that movie.
The casting choice for the parents were also phenomenal too. They were great support actors in that.
Christopher Walken. Like, how do you get better than that?
I mean, it's great.
He drinks warm Dr. Pepper. Who does that?
I need to watch that again.
Definitely worth another watch. So Jason Richardson, your next album that you were going to talk about took me completely by surprise, and I had to do a lot of research into this one because I don't remember the soundtrack to Deuce Bigalow at all. I wasn't a big fan of the movie. Don't remember much from
it. That? That movie is so stupid. It's fun.
Deuce it.
I mean, it could have been I didn't watch it with the right group of people. But
dude, Eddie Griffin in the late 90s, early 2000s, he was just so great to watch when he was doing comedy. Like, he's so
his expressions, his facial expressions, and when he would talk. Yeah. Undercover brother,
He-Man, woman, bitch, or something like that.
I'm not sure.
I'm trying to remember what he called Deuce. He was like, "Hey, you're my she bitch," or something like, or he bitch, or something.
I think it was he whore, he bitch. What was that?
So while Jason Maier looks that up, tell us about this soundtrack and why you like it so much.
So the Deuce Bigalow. First off, I mean, it's a great soundtrack, and he's male gigolo. And so it's about being sexy, and it's different versions of sexy from, fun sexy to cool sexy to romantic sexy. And the soundtrack has just got a boatload of hits on it. I think it's reference to American Gigolo, Blondie's Call Me, which was featured in American Gigolo.
All right.
So that is a classic staple itself there. Who doesn't like hot chocolates? You Sexy Thing.
You Sexy Thing is a great song.
So that fits perfectly with Deuce Bigalow.
Get Down Tonight by Casey and the Sunshine Band.
And the Sunshine Band. Yep. I'm in a 70s vibe right now. And I've been down this funnel for the last couple of years. And I've just been downloading as much 70s stuff as I can because I grew up on that stuff with my parents.
Uh-huh.
And I love the group 10cc.
Okay.
I'm Not in Love. It's such a phenomenal song. And that's the serious, sexy Deuce Bigalow part of the soundtrack. Marvin Gaye's "Let's Get It On" is a staple classic.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I could go on, but I mean, it's just a combination of a lot of fun, sexy songs, whether it's up tempo or down tempo. It's just kind of a combination, and it's a fun soundtrack.
He calls them man whores. He talks about their manginas and the fact that he is a don't make me he bitch man slap you.
That's what it was. Thank you.
And then my other favorite one from this is don't consider himself no pimp, more of a male madam.
A male madam. That's one of those movies where like there are these little moments where just for a quarter of a second someone says something and it's so freaking funny. Like there's just these little moments, and that's just a memorable movie.
Dude, and like what's her face? It's not Rachel Dratch, it's the Parks and Rec girl.
Amy Poehler.
Amy Poehler's the one who has the Tourette's.
Oh yeah.
That he takes to the baseball game.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those moments where it pops into your head. You're like, oh, that's Amy Poehler. And she is hilarious. Like it's one of the few times I can stand watching her.
It's always fun to watch a movie that came out, 15, 20, 25 years ago, and you watch the credits and you see a lot of people who are now famous today.
Oh yeah.
But they were like these little minor characters that had small parts in movies back then.
You flip it back to Go, and the roommate for somebody is Melissa McCarthy.
Melissa McCarthy. Yep.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
You're taking it. They went to some rave thing. Like that's Melissa McCarthy, and it's one of those. Yeah, just another one of those moments where you're watching it, or you watch a trailer for it again, or whatever, or you just. Like sometimes my connection it'll just connect on my head while I'm thinking about or watching something else. I'll be like, oh crap, she was in this. So,
that's how I feel about like John Cusack as one of the geeks in 16 Candles.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
like
Bryce was his name.
I'm just like, that's John Cusack.
I mean, for like the longest time, watching Billy Zane in Back to the Future and not realizing it forever. So
wait a minute, what part in Back to the Future?
Dude, he's one of Biff's sidekicks.
Biff's thugs.
Really?
Yep, in all three of the movies. Or no, I'm sorry, in the first two movies.
Realizing that both guys in Swingers were also in Rudy.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so let's go. Let's go from this super sexy soundtrack to the most kid-friendly one we've got on the table tonight. Jason, that's a definitely kid movie from '99. But Jason picked Tarzan. Talk to us about Tarzan, man.
So Phil Collins was tapped for this, and for something that takes place in the jungle and that was going to be very drum driven, it's almost a perfect match. They tried it again later with Brother Bear. It did not work for me at all. But for Tarzan, like this, they did a very, obviously it's a musical, it's a Disney musical, but they did very musical things in it that they don't normally do. And I don't know if that was Phil Collins doing or somebody else's, but like Two Worlds is the first song that plays. And that's during the whole, first of all, I have to say Tarzan is one of my favorite all-time animated films, period. I think it gets a lot of things right as far as the tone and the, like the family aspect and everything else. It's just been really, really well done. But Two Worlds is the beginning when like Tarzan's parents are in a shipwreck and then they're trying to build their life on this island. And then its opening sequence stretches the song out very long because you don't get the first title of like Tarzan showing up for, I want to say almost 10 minutes, I think. And it's the whole like the gorillas lose their kid, Tarzan loses his parents, the female gorilla finds Tarzan and like saves him from the leopard. And so the very first song is Two Worlds. It's awesome. It's very well done, along with the soundtrack works really well for that part with the movie. And then at the very end of the movie, they do a reprise at the very, very end when it's wrapping up the whole thing, and they go back to Two Worlds. And it's one of my all-time favorite like bookends as far as like Disney movies go, as far because of the fact that musically it's just perfectly connected. How two worlds were so different and crashed on each other, where at the end it's more like they're melting together and becoming a cohesive whole, with Jane and Tarzan like collectively agreeing to stay in the jungle. So
I think metaphorically, I really like what you're saying, how the Two Worlds at the beginning is literally discussing Tarzan's two worlds of human world and jungle world. But then when you, like you said, come full circle at the end, it's metaphorical of the two worlds of Tarzan and Jane coming together.
Yeah. And then like, there's some other songs on there. Trash in the Camp, I think, is one of the, is you can throw that away.
Sure.
It's just, it almost feels like it was kind of just thrown in there so that they would have something musical in the middle of the movie almost.
Okay.
NSYNC did a cover of that with Phil Collins for the credits. And but You'll Be in My Heart is a sweet lullaby that the mom gorilla sings to Tarzan to calm him down.
Yep.
And then Son of Man.
That's a great song.
It is. The whole soundtrack's really great. Son of Man, you have that whole scenario of when he is a young kid, probably less than 10, like 5-6 years old, who's trying to learn how to be a gorilla. And it's like, and then you see him like, it's his montage scene of when he becomes probably 18, 22-year-old, whatever. Yeah. And he's become a hunter as well as being somewhat accepted by the pack. And then the only other song really in it is Strangers Like Me. And that's when he's trying to figure out what's going on when Jane and her dad show up, and he's trying to figure out why they look like him, but he doesn't know who they are, doesn't understand what they're doing. Phil Collins, pretty much something that I grew up with Genesis and
sure.
Being in the 80s, especially with I think it was
Philip Bailey.
No, I was thinking, what's the one with Tom Cruise? Risky Business.
Risky Business.
Oh, the right movie. Oh, Risky Business. Okay.
Yeah.
In the Air Tonight.
In the Air Tonight. Thank you. Yeah, that one's in that movie. Like, I grew up watching Risky Business. Was one of those movies that kind of like was on a lot when I was younger. But yeah, Phil Collins was huge in the 80s, and then to have something that I remember, I invited a friend of mine to come with me to watch it when I saw it at Clearwater. And I was like, hey, do you want to go see Tarzan with me? And they were like, that kids movie, the Disney animated thing. And I'm like, a movie's a movie. I don't care if it's animated or if it's like whatever. You could, but yeah, they were trying to they were like, no, thank you. That sounds ridiculous. And it's like, it literally is still one of my favorite movies of all time. So
to be fair, I just wanted to let you know that I got married in March. And when my mom was asked what she would like to dance with me with, the You'll Be in My Heart.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool, dude.
Yeah. So yeah, that was what she wanted.
Nice.
I wanted something from Lilo and Stitch. And I saw that movie 7 times in a theater. So
were you gonna do Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride?
Yeah, possibly.
I'm a huge Phil Collins Genesis fan, and Phil Collins can sing about dog shit or fairy dust blowing in the wind, and I'm just drawn in. And You'll Be My Heart is just a perfect Phil Collins song.
It is a great one. And so my favorite animated movie of all time came out in 1999, and it's The Iron Giant. But there wasn't a soundtrack to it. There was just a score, so we can't talk about that. But I do want to ask you, I got a couple more songs that I want to ask you if you guys know the movies that they came from. If I say the words Just the Two of Us, what comes to you guys' mind?
Will Smith.
The Spiders.
Austin Powers.
There you go. Austin Powers, which had the great Beautiful Stranger and American Woman on it. So I really enjoy that soundtrack overall. And I'll Never Fall in Love Again.
And a total 90s band that was on that soundtrack. There's a track by Lords of Acid on there, which is stuck.
Oh my God, I haven't heard that group name in forever.
Right?
Jeez.
And that movie was filmed by Roach, correct? And
Jay Roach?
Wife,
yep.
Yeah, his wife was the singer of the Bangles.
Really?
Huh.
Yeah. Now they're divorced, but she actually makes an appearance, I believe, in the first movie. You know, in those little like sequences in between the intermissions.
Yeah.
What's her name? Deborah Hoff.
Right on.
Susanna Hoff.
Susanna Hoff.
Susanna.
So this year also saw a soundtrack that had the songs "Blame Canada" and "What Would Brian Boitano Do?"
Obvious.
South Park.
And Uncle Fucka.
Yep.
I can story about that soundtrack. A buddy of mine was in training, like police academy, sheriff academy, or whatever. And during that time, he would wake up his entire bunker every day with Uncle Fucker.
Oh, jeez.
And just eventually, everyone just grew to hate him in that song.
I believe it. Does anybody remember the movie actually came out on June 30th, but it was the July 4th flop of this year, where the main song from the film is the same as the title of the movie.
Wild Wild West.
Wild Wild West by Will Smith.
Which, you know what? I actually don't mind that song. The song's fine.
The song is fine.
I still do not see this whole Will Smith cock thing that everyone was talking about back in the day, where there's a scene where he's butt naked apparently, and apparently you can see his junk hanging down. And I just never saw that.
You had to frame it. You had to frame it all the way up. If it was in frame, you couldn't see it because his butt cheeks were
that to frame. I mean, how do you?
No. Okay, so you remember, since you could move the film
on 35 millimeter film, you could adjust it up and down.
It was a flat movie, but if it was perfectly placed, everything was fine. But if it was lowered, kind of like your boom mics with 90210 right now.
Okay.
Like if it was lowered just enough, all of a sudden it would just flip down at the top of the screen.
Yep.
Wait a minute, I know those guys are like, wait a minute, why are you bringing up 902?
Are you referring to Will Smith's junk as like a boom mic?
Essentially.
But yeah, everyone was talking about it. I'm like, I'm not seeing this.
Yeah, Jaybird's rewatching all of 90210, and because of the way that it was cropped for 4x3 TVs, you couldn't see the boom mics when they were showing the show.
But that shit is like hanging down like all
since
this
they've expanded it to 16x9.
Like it's coming down,
well,
hitting people in the faces.
Jason, that's not entirely right. What it is with a CRT television, because of the curve, the boom mic was up in the curved area because they're still on Hulu. They're still in the 4x3 images. But because of CRT TVs, where the boom mic is, it was curved on a curved, like the boob tube. But now because it's all flat and it's the whole picture, you can see those mics.
What was funny was I was just watching one of the episodes last night. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Jay was being ridiculous. Say what you were going to say.
Oh, I was going to say there was at least I see it at least on one episode. At least one episode. Every episode, you see it at least once. And it was funny. It was yesterday. The mic, for some reason, was much hairier.
Oh, my God.
So
all right. So, moving on.
No. Does that make sense, Jason?
Smash Mouth's great song, All-Star. Do you remember what soundtrack that was on?
Correct.
Wasn't it originally on Mystery
about
Man?
the heroes.
It was on Mystery Men, yes.
The Waffle Man.
Waffle.
Who was in that? There was somebody big on that one.
Mystery Men is literally everybody who ever ended up on an episode of Friends. If you look at the cast of Mystery Men, basically everybody ended up on Friends.
Dane Cook didn't.
Dane Cook didn't.
The movie's going to be so much bigger than what it was, and it's just kind of.
Eddie Izzard didn't.
Okay, so I'm not 100% right. Most people.
Felicity Huffman's husband, I can't remember his name right now.
William H. Macy.
There you go. He wasn't.
Anyway, we're moving on to, here you go. I'm throwing, this one's a little harder. Candy Girl by New Edition.
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
You have the right genre, but the wrong movie from 99.
Wasn't Jay and Silent Bob 2000 anyway?
That was 2001.
And it was also done by Michael Jackson with no, it was a New Edition. Never mind.
The 99 film was Dogma. It's the strip club sequence with Selma Hayek. Yeah. The other couple that I've got on here was You Got a Friend in Me from the Toy Story soundtrack. REM's work that they did on the Man on the Moon soundtrack. Amy Mann did the entire Magnolia soundtrack.
Married to Michael Penn.
Yep. And then the last thing that I've got to talk about for music in 99 or soundtracks in 99 was we got a Bond movie that year. Do you remember who sang the Bond song for The World Is Not Enough?
Garbage.
Garbage. Yes, it was garbage.
One of my favorite Bond themes.
Garbage?
And that music video of Robot Shirley Manson and regular Shirley Manson is a very good music video.
Yes.
Oh, that was The World Is Not Enough, right?
Or was it Sheryl Crow and you were calling her?
I was thinking Tomorrow Never Dies. Okay.
No, she was slinking around on a piano and she's like she's got holding a bomb in her getting ready to blow up the whole theater.
Yep.
That's the one with the Denise Richards, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Christmas.
And she plays like a doctor scientist.
She's a nuclear physicist.
Yeah. She plays.
I was just watching her on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills tonight.
Oh, really?
Wow. That's what she's doing now.
Wow.
Blue Mountain State was her finest work ever.
Who is she even married to? Why is she a Real Housewife?
That is, well, I mean, you don't have to technically be married to someone to be on the show.
Oh, okay. So
But she is married to some guy named Aaron, and he's not. I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right.
Probably some millionaire.
Probably. Guys, I appreciate your time tonight. Does anybody have anything left that we haven't covered for soundtracks in 99?
Well, you were talking about motion picture soundtracks. There was a fantastic soundtrack that came out for a television series, a little-known TV show called Dawson's Creek.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I don't want to wait.
And that came out on Oh, now Claire wants me to tell a joke.
I don't want him to tell it.
I'm going to text you the longer version of your joke because I saw your joke online yesterday, but somebody took it out even farther than 90108. They literally had it to like 14 digits. And I was like, Jay needs to see this. I need to find that to send to you.
Love that joke.
While doing research for the for this airing, it reminded me of a soundtrack that I love that wasn't on the list, but the soundtrack to the movie Broke Down Palace was like one of my favorite tunes this year as well.
Okay. What was on that one? I remember the movie. I don't remember what's on the soundtrack.
It had like the big song was Delirium and Sarah McLachlan's Silence.
Okay.
Just a super pretty, chill, vibey song. And the soundtrack also introduced me with the last scene of the movie where Claire Danes says goodbye to, was it Kate Beckinsale?
Yep.
Yeah, Kate Beckinsale says goodbye. And, Claire Danes kind of is tearing up and sad that she's still in prison, but also resigns to the fact that, like, these people are going to try and get me out and becomes at peace with it. But the song Deliver Me by Sarah Brightman and just introduced me to who Sarah Brightman was as a vocalist and just how incredible she is.
That woman, wow.
She can belt.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I appreciate your time tonight. It was a blast talking music with all of you. I know you guys love music as much as I do, so it was really fun talking to all of you guys. If you are listening at home or if you're watching this now and haven't been to the Facebook page, there's a post up there where I'm asking everybody to tell me their top 10 films of all time. Not necessarily what you think is the best films of all time, just your 10 favorite movies of all time that you could watch over and over again and never get sick of. Because next week's episode, episode 10, Jason and I are going to go over every list that everybody puts up there, discuss their top 10, talk about if any of them cross over with our top 10 lists, or if anybody surprises us with something that we just weren't expecting to see on a top 10 list. So if you're listening now and you haven't answered that yet, please go to the Facebook page, tell us what your top 10 movies of all time are so that we can talk about them next week.